"Don't touch my BMW." He didn't know the black guy was his new CEO. What happens when a black CEO parks in his reserved spot, only to be accused of stealing his own car? What unfolds next leaves not just a company, but an entire nation speechless. Michael Brooks left his house at 6:40 a.m. sharp, not because he was running late. He despised being late. No, he left early because he knew what every black man in a tailored suit knows in a city like this. There's no such thing as just being in a hurry when your skin is a few shades darker than corporate comfort allows. Moving fast? That draws suspicion. And suspicion, for men like him, has a way of getting expensive, sometimes permanently. So he moved calm, or at least as calm as a man could be when the vultures on the board of directors were circling. They had just made him CEO, technically, but everyone in that boardroom knew it was a silent test. They didn't clap, they didn't cheer. They handed him the keys with a smile and a timer. "Let's see what he does," one had whispered when he passed the hall. "Let's see how long it lasts." Michael had heard that before. All his life. The BMW 740i glided through the morning streets of Manhattan like it owned the concrete. The seats cradled him like they were tailored by God's own upholsterer. Dashboard looked like something out of a Bond flick. Touchscreen navigation whispering directions like Morgan Freeman on a lazy Sunday. He eased into the corporate lot of Strathmore Technologies and turned into a reserved space with the sign bold and shiny, CEORESERVED. And then, like clockwork, precisely 23 seconds later, it began. "Hey, hey, step away from that car." The voice was thick, self-assured, and coming from the kind of white man who walked like rules were made for everyone else. Michael turned slowly, calmly, as if someone had politely asked him for the time, not accused him of grand theft auto. The man looked 40-something, with a face that screamed country club committee chairman and an attitude that could teach a master class in racial microaggressions. Slate gray suit, shoes shiny enough to blind, and a face caught between confusion and the dawning panic that he might have said something stupid on camera. "You got a problem?" Michael asked, keeping his voice flat. "That's the CEO's spot," the man snapped, pointing at the sign like Michael couldn't read. "You're not supposed to be here." Michael cocked his head. "And who exactly do you think I am? Delivery guy? Chauffeur?" The man paused, well, just for a moment, then did something incredibly foolish. He nodded. "Well, yeah, one of those." Michael let out a short, breathless laugh, not out of surprise, but because even after all these years, the performance never changed. Different actor, same damn script. "No," Michael said, calmly pulling his badge out of his coat pocket and flipping it toward him. It read in clear, bold font, "Michael Brooks, Chief Executive Officer." Silence, and not the good kind, the heavy kind, the kind that squeezes your throat when reality punches your assumptions in the jaw. Two security guards appeared from nowhere, like they'd been trained to materialize at the sound of black confidence. "Everything all right, sir?" one of them asked, though it was clear who he meant by sir. "This gentleman parked in the CEO spot," the white man jumped in. "I'm pretty sure it's not his car." Michael smiled without teeth. "You're pretty sure, huh?" He handed over his ID badge. The guards blinked, looked at each other, then back at the man. "Mr. Trainer," one guard said cautiously, "he's our new CEO. The board announced it last night." And with that, Trainer's soul left his body. His tie shriveled up like it was ashamed to be seen with him. Color drained from his face so fast, even the white in his shirt looked tan. I didn't know," he stammered. "No," Michael said coolly, stepping into the building. "You didn't know, but you were absolutely certain." And just like that, he disappeared into the building. The glass doors sealed shut behind him, not just the entrance to a lobby, but to a new era he was about to drag this company into by its collar. The receptionist's hands trembled slightly as she greeted him. Her smile faltered, like it had been calibrated for someone else entirely. He was the man they all whispered about yesterday, the new CEO no one had seen coming. Some doubted the news. Others hoped it was a rumor. Today, it was their reality. Michael didn't take the stairs. He didn't earn this by climbing. He took the elevator, and the elevator rose. As he ascended, his thoughts drifted to his mother, a woman who had cleaned other people's offices for 30 years. The woman who once told him, "Baby, when you walk into a room, don't try to prove you belong there. Walk like it was built for you." The elevator doors slid open. Michael stepped out into a corridor of glass-paneled offices and whispering mouths. Heads ducked, eyes widened. One man literally pretended to sneeze just to turn away. He walked like he had every right in the world to be there, because he did. That's when he saw her, Vivian Horn, head of HR, standing stiffly near the boardroom. She looked like someone who had just realized her Google search history might not survive a subpoena. "Mr. Brooks," she said, voice a little too high. "Welcome. I trust your morning has been uneventful?" Michael didn't blink. "Someone tried to report me to security for stealing my own car." Vivian froze. Silence. He didn't elaborate. He didn't need to. He just smiled. That quiet, devastating kind of smile that says, "I know, and you know I know, and you know I'm not gonna forget." By the time Michael stepped into the boardroom, the executives were already seated, tight-lipped, backs straight. It was like watching a choir prepare to sing a hymn they didn't believe in. He took the head seat, the one they never thought he'd occupy. Seconds passed. No one moved. They were waiting for someone else, someone whiter, to walk in and say, "Sorry, mistake." No one came. "Shall we begin?" he asked. There was an awkward shuffle. One man, Bill, cleared his throat. "We just didn't expect you." Michael didn't even look up. "I know. That's the problem." He opened a folder. "Let's start with the digital restructuring proposal. And later I'll speak about the company's culture." You could hear the oxygen leave the room. Right on cue, an assistant burst in, pale as printer paper. "Mr. Brooks, we've got a situation." He handed Michael a tablet. Michael swiped once, twice. There it was, a viral video. Parking lot, trainer shouting, security fumbling. Michael holding his badge like a mirror to the system. Caption, "White exec freaks out on black CEO, thinking he's a car thief. Awkward doesn't even begin to cover it. Views 1.1 million and climbing." Michael leaned back in his chair, eyes never leaving the room. "Well," he said, "welcome to the new reality, gentlemen. When you're a black man in a tailored suit standing at the helm of a corporation, you're not just a CEO. You're a walking Rorschach test. You are a mirror that reflects back everything a company pretends not to be, every unspoken bias, every carefully coded phrase in a handbook, every fake smile at a diversity luncheon." Michael Brooks knew that the moment the board voted him in, behind closed doors, it wasn't a celebration. It was an accidental confession, a slip-up, like someone had walked into the wrong meeting and saw the truth before it had time to hide. Now, barely 12 hours after a parking lot video turned corporate arrogance into national conversation, he sat in a glass-walled conference room with executives who looked like they were realizing something awful. "We're going to have to start calling him Sir." Vivian Horn, head of HR, instinctively reached for her phone, maybe to call PR, maybe to call backup. But before she could lift it, Michael laid his hand flat on the table. Not a slam, not aggressive, just firm enough to remind everyone who was running the room now. "Put it down," he said, locking eyes with her. "This ain't your tennis club, where you report people for not fitting your idea of cultural compatibility. This is real life. And out here, consequences don't wear name tags. They show up loud and fast." A cough echoed from the corner. Someone avoided eye contact. Trainer, seated near the wall, was dabbing his forehead with a folded napkin, like the heat of truth was physically boiling his skin. One of the senior partners finally found his courage, or what was left of it. "Are you planning to turn this office into a political battleground?" he asked. "We're prepping for an IPO, Michael." Michael didn't blink. "I plan to turn this office into a place where people stop being afraid to be themselves," he replied, voice calm but heavy. "And if that's what threatens your IPO, maybe you should ask yourself what's really standing in the way." Then he slid several thick folders across the table, one for each department, color-coded with sticky notes like a prosecutor about to enter evidence into court. "Let's take a look at the culture you've all been so proud of." He opened the first, human resources. "Application for promotion, Amber Piper. 9 years of service. Certifications? 3 times more than the man you gave the role to, Ms. Horn. Your comment?" He looked directly at her. "Amber doesn't look like a leader. May come off aggressive." Vivian's lips tightened like she was trying to swallow a lie, but it got stuck in her throat. Next folder, IT. Engineer Jamal Walton, fired after a so-called data mishap. What really happened? His security protocol got stolen and rebranded under someone else's name. The same system you now use company-wide. "And where's Jamal now?" "Working at Google, making triple what he made here." Michael turned to a man on the right. "Bill, you signed off on his termination." "That's not what I—" Michael raised a hand. "Don't. Right now, the smartest thing you can do is be quiet." The room held its breath. For the next 40 minutes, Michael read from folder after folder, marketing, finance, security, one by one, revealing how decision after decision mirrored the same quiet prejudice. Brilliant black employees denied promotions for being too outspoken. Latinx staff labeled a culture fit risk. Women told to wait their turn while junior hires leapfrogged them with a wink and handshake. The air grew still, like the walls themselves didn't want to echo what they were hearing. "You sit in this room," Michael finally said, rising slowly, "in suits that cost more than some employees make in a month, talking about values, inclusivity, growth." He paused, letting the silence work for him. "But when you see a black man in a BMW, your instinct screams, thief." His voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. Truth doesn't shout. It cuts. "I didn't come here for revenge, but I won't do what generations before me did. Smile at you in the hallway while you pocket their ideas and slap someone else's name on the credit slide." Then he pulled out his phone, connected it to the projector. Up on the screen, security camera footage from the parking lot. Trainer yelling, security fumbling, Michael calm. The final moment when the guard informed Trainer, "Sir, this is our new CEO." "That video has 1.2 million views," Michael said. 200,000 reposts. "And you know what people are saying? They're not shocked. They're tired. Because this ain't the exception. It's the pattern. The only difference is, this time the camera was rolling. No one moved. No one dared." At the end of the meeting, Trainer received an email. Subject, contract terminated. Body, access revoked. Please return company property immediately. He tried to protest. Michael didn't flinch. "You tried to erase me down to nothing," he said. "Problem is, I'm not dust. I'm the foundation. Good luck somewhere people don't already know who you are." The next morning, the crowd outside Strathmore Technologies had tripled. Journalists, former employees, community leaders. A massive banner hung from a nearby overpass. "Hypocrisy is not a business strategy." Michael stepped onto the balcony on the 5th floor, not because he wanted a press conference, but because silence was no longer an option. "I'm not the face of your diversity campaign," he began, voice firm. "I'm a man who sees clearly. And what I see is your systems chewing up talent, hope, and human dignity, just because someone's shade doesn't match your brochure." He held up a photo. Amber Piper. Fired. No explanation. But here's her proposal. Sold to Samsung. Millions made. Next photo. Jamal Walton. Out. Labeled a risk. His code now protects your entire cloud infrastructure. Another. Latifa from reception. For 3 years, she'd applied for internal transfers. Rejected every time with notes like, "Not quite the right tone," and "needs more polish." Starting today, every department will undergo a full audit, every decision reviewed, every complaint reopened. I'm not your anomaly. I'm the reminder that truth walks in, even if you've spent years building walls to keep it out. The crowd below erupted, but Michael didn't smile. This wasn't about applause. It was about accountability. Later that evening, Vivian Horn entered his office. No makeup, no PR armor, just a woman who knew the mirror had turned back on her. "I came to apologize," she said. "For what?" Michael asked. "For realizing what you've done? Or because you got caught?" She said nothing. For the first time, she had no corporate script. "I didn't come here to destroy you," Michael said, voice softening, but not yielding. "But if you want to stay, understand this. You don't get to decide who's worthy anymore. That's over. Sometimes you're just a witness to someone else's rise." Vivian nodded. No excuses. No spin. By the time the sun set, the office was quieter than ever. No one knew what to say, but everyone understood what had happened. Michael Brooks had walked into the boardroom not asking for permission. He came with the truth, and once truth speaks out loud, the game changes. For good. It had been 3 days since Michael Brooks's name cracked its way onto the front page of every major news outlet. Not because he staged a spectacle or raised his voice, but because he did something far more dangerous in corporate America. He told the truth, and he told it quietly. A truth so sharp it stripped the paint off the carefully polished facade of boardrooms and broke the hush that usually padded bad decisions. At the entrance to Strathmore Technologies, the usual badge-scanning security was gone, replaced now by a perimeter of cameras, mics, and notepads. Reporters swarmed the doorway like they were waiting for a rock star or a scandal, or both. But Michael hadn't said a word since the video went viral. Not one. Because he knew something they didn't. The right words, at the right time, carry more force than any viral headline. And today, that time had come. The building's lobby buzzed like a disturbed beehive. Uniforms, blazers, lanyards from every floor. People who'd never once been invited to strategic alignment meetings were suddenly checking their calendars, asking their managers if that invite was meant for them. Turns out, yes. Michael didn't summon the top brass. He summoned everybody. The room that usually hosted revenue forecasts and PowerPoint presentations now held Kendrick from mail services, Janet from accounting, and yes, Michelle. The janitor everyone used to walk past like she was part of the furniture. The same Michelle who, just a few days earlier, slipped Michael a folder with all the quietly rejected promotion requests, most of them from people who didn't pass the culture fit test. Michael stood before them, not in a suit, not in a tie, a plain sweater, jeans, as if to say, this isn't about status, it's about substance. Thank you for coming, he began, his voice calm but firm. No filters today, no titles, just truth. He held up a sheet of paper. This is a letter from Amber. Yeah, that Amber. She writes, when I resigned, I finally felt relief because for the first time, I didn't have to pretend I was welcome in a place that never believed I belonged. He laid the paper down slowly. No one in this room, he said, scanning their faces, should ever have to fake their own worth just to survive Monday to Friday. He took a breath. So today we're launching the Center for Equity and Accountability. And the person running it? He paused for effect. Latifa, the same one who used to serve coffee to executives who called her sweetheart. Starting today, she's the one who'll be taking your complaints. And believe me, she knows how to listen. There were no forced claps, no slow, polite applause. This was the real thing. At exactly 1:15 p.m., Michael walked into the company cafeteria. If silence could scream, it would have deafened the room. 3 people sat at a corner table. Bill, the former head of IT, Vivian, the HR exec still sitting on probation, and Charles, the corporate lawyer who once said, "We can't afford that kind of loyalty," when a junior black employee asked for career mentorship. Michael grabbed a tray like anyone else. Braised chicken, mac and cheese, green beans. He nodded at the woman behind the counter, sat directly across from them. "You all doing all right?" he asked with a smile that had the warmth of fire but could still burn. "We were, talking through the restructuring," Bill stammered. "Good. So am I," Michael said, folding his napkin neatly beside his plate. "Right now, with people who once thought company culture was something you could PDF, email to HR, and forget." He set down his fork. "You know where you went wrong?" he asked, voice steady, eyes sharp. "You thought the system was infrastructure, chairs, charts, contracts. Nah, the system is you, your bias, your choices, your silence." Bill leaned back like the air had suddenly gotten thinner. Vivian finally opened her mouth. "So, you want us to feel guilty?" Michael blinked, then smiled. "Number, I want you to feel accountable. Guilt? That's your decision. That part's above my pay grade." He stood up slowly, gathering his tray. "Enjoy your meal, and try not to choke on your own indifference." That night, Michael sat on his couch. The city skyline blinked outside like it was taking a moment to catch its breath. He picked up his phone, dialed the one number he didn't need stored. His mother answered on the 3rd ring. "You there?" she asked, voice like Sunday morning. Soft, real, comforting in a way nothing else could be. "I'm here, Mama. Everything's all right. Or close to it." "They scared of you now?" He chuckled softly. "They're not scared of me. They're scared of what I make them see. Power. And it doesn't look like them anymore." His mama paused, then said something only she could say. "Baby, don't forget, mirrors ain't weapons. They just show you what's real. But break them the wrong way, and they'll cut deep." Michael was quiet. "I know, Mama. But maybe if they bleed a little, they'll finally realize we all bleed the same color." A week later, the New York Times dropped their feature. Headline, "Michael Brooks, I'm not fighting for equity. I'm what happens when you finally stop fighting it." The photo said it all. Michael, not in some boardroom, but in the hallway outside IT, laughing with 2 interns, wearing sneakers and a hoodie. Nothing about him screamed typical executive, which was exactly the point. In the article, he spoke about the culture of fear, the silence that lets injustice wear a name tag and collect a paycheck. He didn't ask for sympathy. He didn't ask for praise. "I don't want to be on a cover because I'm the exception," he said. "I want the next black kid who walks into a boardroom to be so used to seeing someone who looks like him." He yawns. 1 month later, Michael sat at his desk. On his left, a new internship program for students from underrepresented communities. On his right, a stack of resumes from former employees returning, voluntarily. He sipped his coffee. The kind his mama used to make. Black, no sugar. Then his intercom buzzed. "Mr. Brooks," the secretary said, "there's someone downstairs. Says he wants to apologize. It's, Trainer." Michael didn't move, just stared at the window for a long moment. Then, "Tell him the door's open, but let him know the rules changed. If he wants to apologize, let it be with actions, not words." He clicked the intercom off. Down below in the parking lot, the BMW was still parked in its spot, the same one from the video. But now, nobody dared ask if it was really his, because they already knew. And if they forgot, the new system would remind them.